You're listening to the Faith Breathes Hope podcast, Accelerated Edition number 17. In this episode, I speak with time management and business strategist and founder of the Mom Leader Movement, Famojuro, on miscarriage. Welcome to the Faith Breathed Hope podcast, Accelerated Edition, where we gain inspiration and motivation from others who share their stories of renewing hope and discovering purpose in any circumstance. I am Christina Reisinger, and today you will be encouraged by another tremendously inspirational topic that will embolden you to release your fear, begin taking small steps forward, and move into your God-given purpose to live and serve in this life. Join me for today's story. Hi, Nikkei. Welcome to the Faith Breathed Hope podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you today on this episode. So the first thing I always do is I have my guests tell the audience who they are, what they do, and then we'll talk a little bit about your story.
Okay, so my name is Famojuro. I'm a time management strategist. I'm the founder of Mom Leader, and Mom Leader is just a platform created for mom entrepreneurs who want to take charge of their time without sacrificing their dreams, their family, or even themselves. So right now I'm working on something that I call the Mom Leader Movement. And the movement is just helping mom entrepreneurs realize that it's okay if you have a dream. It's okay if you have a passion in you to serve in any way, and trying to find that balance where you're still caring for your dreams, you're caring for your family, and most importantly, you're still caring for yourself. So
yeah, and that's really kind of a stressful thing for a lot of moms, right? Trying to find that balance, especially recently with the COVID coming on. I'm not sure when this episode will air later on in the year, but right now we're in the middle of COVID still in the summer, and we are seeing increased cases. So, we still have children at home for the summer, and we may have them home later. I don't know. So would you like, today we're going to talk about miscarriage, and I'd like for you to share your story, let the audience know what it is that you have gone through, and then we'll talk a little bit about how you've been able to persevere and, help other people and serve other people.
Okay, so my story, I feel like I don't share it enough, but I've had 3 miscarriages, but now I have 2 girls, and each miscarriage would happen each year. So before now, I used to work corporate, had a great job. I was so excited about that. Then I got married, and then I found out we were pregnant, so excited. And then I had a miscarriage. I think it was March in that year that I had a miscarriage. It was one of those that I told the family about it, and everybody was so excited. Plus, I'm the last born in my family, so you can just imagine the baby sister is having a baby, and then that I lost a baby. And I think the most painful thing about that time was when I found I was lost the baby. I thought, okay, well, I know God is in control. He has his own big plans that are bigger than me and all of that. And then I got discharged from the hospital, got home. I was in so much pain, and then I had to go back in again. And that was when the moment I realized that I was actually carrying twins. So the first one had already miscarried and had come out, but the second one was still inside, but had no life. So they had to literally do like a mini evacuation, I think it was called, and to bring out the baby. And it was such a painful time because when I went over to the hospital, I didn't expect that to happen. I just thought maybe I just needed medication. I'll be back home. So I went in by myself. And then the doctor said they had to do it right away. And there was nobody there with me. And I had to have the evacuation. I had to figure out a way to get back home because my husband was actually not in town at the time. And then I feel that that's the moment when I actually felt the grief and the loss. You know how you feel like you've powered through something, like, okay, I found out I miscarried. Okay, you're going to be fine. And then when you get like a double blow, that's when all the pain just comes rushing in. So I got home, and then I feel like the big question was, why me? Why did this have to happen to me? And why it hit me so hard is it's always been my greatest desire to have twins, a boy and a girl. That's always been what I always talk about. I'm going to have twins, and once I have twins, that's it. And then I felt in that moment that, okay, God, you gave me the twins and then you took it away. Why did you even do this to me? It was a very painful season. But I feel that one thing I didn't do was talk about it, because when friends and family would come over, I wanted to talk about something else but
Mhm.
that. I didn't really go into that. I just thought, when you fall, you can always rise up again. So so that year went by. I had to quit my job because the doctor had advised me that if I ever get pregnant again, I would be on bed rest just to be sure that I will have the baby. So I didn't want to take time off work. I just said, you know what, I'm going to quit my job and give this my full attention. I feel like one of the painful comments that people made at the time, because I love working. I love my job at the time. So the painful comment that people made was, you're always working. You're always go, go, go. You don't take care of yourself enough. And I'm thinking, are you really talking from a place of love, or are you just trying to find an answer for me? So anyway, I think that statement influenced me, and I thought, okay, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to give this my 100%. I'm going to go on bed rest from the moment when I find out that I'm pregnant, and let's see how this goes. So I got pregnant again. This was the year after, and I decided to just tell a few people, just because the painful process of having to go back to tell everybody that there is no baby.
Yeah.
I thought, I'm not doing this again. I'm just going to tell a few people that I probably can just send a text to, you know, and
And
not
that.
friends. And not friends you're going to run into. They're going to be like, oh, so when is the baby due? And then you have to
Mhm.
start the story all over again. So I was just going to tell my family. So I got pregnant. And then when it was time, I was closely monitored. I wasn't working. I was taking care of myself. I was doing everything I was asked to do. I was trying not to Google as much,
Mhm.
a lot of symptoms. And then I remember, I think it was about 5 months pregnant. It was really showing. A lot of my friends
Mhm.
were beginning to see that I was pregnant. I was getting more comfortable because the first miscarriage I think I had it in my first trimester. So I scaled through the first trimester the second time. So I was excited. I was like, okay, this is good. And then I went over, I think I went to go see my sister or something. And then we got back home, still excited, everybody saying, oh my God, it's obvious now,
Yeah.
I had a bump. And then I felt the pain and I went to the hospital and had the baby. And then I fell asleep because it was in so much pain, it was so much blood. Had the baby was put in an incubator. I was excited. I was like, oh, I even gave her a name. So I slept, and then when I woke up, my mom was crying. I was thinking, why is my mommy crying? Maybe it was tears of joy because I've had the baby. And that's when they told me that the baby died, I think, less than 2 hours when she was put in the incubator. And oh, it was very devastating. I'm like, no, I did see this baby. I even gave her a name.
Mhm.
And
What
it
was
was
her
a
name? What's her name?
It's I gave her a traditional name that means this is what I asked from the Lord. That
Oh,
was her name. It was Mofe in my language, and it meant this is what I asked of the Lord.
beautiful.
So yeah, so I left the hospital. I think my husband was the one who did everything else that you have to do when that kind of thing happens, and then went back home. And so I was caught between, should I go get a job or not? And, I had so many people give me advice. And still in that season, I didn't really want to talk about it. I didn't feel any need to speak to anyone about it. I just shoved it off, and I'd gained a bit of weight. So some of my friends that had never seen me before then, some, oh, you're looking, you've had it on weight. I wouldn't say anything or any reason or whatever. So I thought, okay, the third time coming, the doctor said, we're going to put you on bed rest from the very first day when you find out you're pregnant. I said, okay, that's going to work. And it was a Christian hospital. I knew the doctors so well. They were like family members. So I said, okay, this is good. It would just feel like I'm staying with friends, right? So I was on full bed rest, literally doing nothing. So this was the third year into my marriage. So literally doing nothing when I was pregnant. I usually get pregnant around, it's weird, I usually get pregnant around March. And then everything happens around June in the year. And then before I get back on my feet is September and the whole year is over kind of thing. So I was pregnant this third time. I was excited about that. And I was with friends. I was with Christian friends that would wake up every morning, come over to my room and pray with me. And it was such an awesome time for me as well. Being a Christian, I just spent time with God because I was on the bed. What else? What else would I be doing?
Right.
So I just journaled. I just spent time with God and had a vision of what I wanted to be as a mom and all of that. And I said, okay, God, this is the third time, and I mean, this should work. And it was funny because even when my siblings would call me just to check on me, I was one encouraging them. I was like, I know this is it. I know this is it. And they were all excited for me. So, but it wasn't it. So the day I got discharged from the hospital, I got home and they said, okay, you're 6 months pregnant. Well, I think I was over 6 months pregnant, and the doctor felt that it was okay for me to actually leave the hospital and go home because I've been on the bed for 6 long months. So I was like, okay, you can go visit your family if you want. I don't think anything can happen. I think I had a sacrilege put in. They did everything just to keep the baby in. And I went home and I lost the baby before the next morning.
Oh,
And
wow.
that one, and I didn't just lose the baby only, I was bleeding so much that I remember being on the hospital bed. And at that moment, I could see life leaving me. And I felt like I was standing right in front of a very bright light. This may sound weird, but like I was standing in front of that very bright light and I had a choice to either go back or actually go towards the light. And in that moment, I just thought, what is the point of going back? I'm just tired of all the pain. I'm that one child that I don't like when you feel pity for me. I don't like that. And I don't want anyone to feel pity for me. I don't want anybody to tell me it's going to be okay and God is good. And I
Mhm.
just didn't want to go back. And at that moment, I think one of the doctors that was a family friend, he squeezed my hands and he said to me, Nike, please come back. And I said, okay.
Oh,
At that moment, I think I turned back and I opened my eyes and they told me that I was kind of gone for like 5-10 minutes, I think
oh,
they
wow.
said. And they thought they'd lost me. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So I I got back home and then that year all gone. And it's funny because at the time I had a friend that was looking to God for the fruit of the womb. And she would call me and cry about how she's seeking God. Like, why wouldn't God just give her a baby? And this was me having all this series of miscarriages. And I was always encouraging her, like, don't worry, we'll do it. It's faithful and all of that. And she said to me one day, she said, oh, I wish I could just be like you when I get pregnant and I will miscarry the baby. At least I'll get the feeling of being pregnant. I,
Oh, wow.
I don't know. I remember that conversation so well. And I think I encouraged her. It's like, you don't want that. Trust me.
Yeah.
You don't want it. And then secondly, I think for me, it was like a wake up call. Like I felt that I was being tagged, that woman that would get pregnant and not see the baby. So that happened. And then in the same week, I think I called I think it was my brother. I called my brother and I said, oh, guess what? I have good news for you. And he said, oh, the good news would definitely not be that it's that you're pregnant. And I said, why did you say that? It was something else actually, had nothing to do with pregnancy. I was like, why did you say that? It was like, oh, it's just that every time you tell me you're pregnant, I'm always so worried because I know what will be the end result. I was like, oh, wow, okay. This is becoming my story and I didn't
Mm.
want this to be. And that last miscarriage actually hit me so bad because it was a boy. So this is me. I've been pregnant with twins. I've been pregnant with a girl. I've been pregnant with a boy. And I was just thinking, what else? I should keep up on this. So the year that followed, I found out I was pregnant again. And that was the same year that we were going to move. I was living in Nigeria at the time. We were actually moving to Canada. So it was the same year. I had to move everything. I think I got tired of the environment. I used to live in the UK, got married, moved to Nigeria, and then moved to Canada. So been around a bit. And I was like, okay, I love that idea. I'm going to be away from everybody. Just wanted to be in my own world and just build my own space. So I moved to Canada. Nobody knew I was pregnant. I didn't even tell my mom I was pregnant because I was just tired of that conversation. So I moved to Canada pregnant. I think it was a 19-hour flight. My poor husband kept checking on me. You okay? I'm okay. And then when I moved to Canada, I went to see the doctors. I had a very thick file to show the doctors, and they didn't have anything else to tell me to do because I'd done it all, everything just to keep the baby in. And they said, okay, there's really nothing we can do. There's extra. All we're just going to do is you're going to come in every week for a scan. And I had to go for a scan. It was a 40 minutes drive. Every week I would go for the scan and come back home. And I had these friends that they knew I was pregnant. I was staying with them at the time, and they would drive all of us, my friends, the wife and the husband and the little baby. They had a little baby girl. And my husband, all of us would get into the car. Every week we would go down, get a scan, get to see the baby, and then we have to drive back home. Okay. That was a very traumatic journey for me because most of the time when I lost the baby is usually when I'm driving. So it's always that, okay, we're going back home now. I hope we get home safely. So around the same time that I usually have the miscarriage, I started bleeding again. Same symptoms, the way it starts. But I feel like that day I just made up my mind. I wasn't going to the hospital. I said, I'm going to stay here. I want to see what's going to happen. And also at that moment, I told God, I was like, if you're not going to come through for me, then I don't know. You just have to do something. And I was shaking all over. My friends thought, oh, should we take you to the hospital? I was like, no, I'm going to stay right here. So I slept off, woke up the next morning. And anyway, cut the long story short, I had the baby. So she's here. She's 5 now.
Yay.
And she's just a huge testimony. So,
Awesome. And then you had another one after that, you said? Another little girl?
yes. Yeah. And then I had a little girl after that. Yes.
And how did that pregnancy go? Was that one okay?
It was pretty smooth. I feel like this is my testimony. It's weird because when I had the baby, I was so this might sound funny to you. So I had a lot of family and friends say, "Oh gosh, you got so lucky having that girl." And I just wanted to prove that I had a God that was real. I didn't get lucky. I wanted to show that I've been delivered. I don't know how to explain it. It was weird. And then I went on that journey. I think it was more for me to get out of that, just get out of that. You're lucky to, it's a gift. I don't know how to explain that. And I said, I'm going to try this one more time, and I'm going to trust you. And this is not about me just being lucky. I want to see you do this. And so I had the second girl, and actually her name actually means God has done it. Like, this is not about being lucky. This is God has actually done it. So, yeah.
I love it. So, I speak to a lot of women who have lost children, a lot of women who have had miscarriages. I myself have, for those who listen to this podcast know that my story is that I did lose a child, an infant who was 10 and a half months. So it was just right before her first birthday, which really pushed me into following what I believed God wanted me to do in getting people to share their stories and to speak about it. And that's why I started this podcast, among other things. But a lot of people don't probably know. I mean, I do talk about that I had 3 miscarriages as well. And, my story is a lot different than yours. Mine were all baby number 1 and baby number 2, at least the ones that I know of. And they were all at 5 weeks, around 5, 6 weeks. So it was very, very early. And then listening to you and
I very much can resonate with a few things. Like you say that you didn't want to tell people. I very much remember, telling people I was all excited, and then we lost the baby, and then the next time I didn't tell anybody until after the first trimester, and then I think it was the next time I think I even waited a little bit longer because I was so concerned that we would lose another one. And
Mm.
one of the babies we lost was on Mother's Day, and
Um,
it is difficult. Everybody is different and in different stages, but losing a child is devastating. And as far as going home, like you had to go home without your baby after everybody knew you were pregnant, um, twice, right? So the first one was
yeah,
in or the second one was in the hospital. The
yeah,
first one was at the hospital, and then you went back to the hospital. Is that correct? And then
yeah.
the
And
third
then
one, was that in the hospital or at home?
no, it was a home. Yeah,
Okay. So, but either way, people, were aware of your pregnancy. It's 6 months. You were certainly showing. And I remember with Isabella, she was born, but she stayed 5.5 months in the NICU. And just going home without a baby, we had been taking my other child somewhere, and people expected like their pre-K. They're like, "Where's your baby?" And I'm like, "I don't have a
mm.
baby." Baby's in the hospital. It's like everybody expects to see the baby. They want to love on
Mhm.
the baby. And it's a very difficult emotional ride, I would guess you would say,
Yeah.
and to keep all of that in, um, I guess was just how you felt like you needed to cope with it. Is it that you didn't want other people to know, or was it more of it was like a protection thing, so that, or you felt like maybe people wouldn't understand? What do you think was the
I
reason?
I think the question I had at the time was I felt like I was a broken piece. Like
Mhm.
it's just I used to tell myself it's just an easy task. Just carry the baby forward. Not even 9 months. Just try and carry the baby for 7 months and have a healthy baby. So whenever I was talking to anyone about it, it was going to show me how broken I was.
Mhm.
And then I feel that, to be honest, when it comes to miscarriages, is one of the things that people, I feel that they say the wrong things. And it's not just miscarriages. I feel like even people that want to have a baby, whenever people are around them, my suggestion is always, if you don't know what to say, just be there and
Mhm.
don't say anything. Because most of the time, the things that they told me at the time, they were trying to make me feel better. But when they leave, I think about it. I'm like, nah, that didn't feel good. When people say things like, oh, you should have taken it easy, maybe if you didn't go on that long trip. And I'm thinking, okay, so now is my fault. Okay.
Yeah.
so
Aw.
so I think I had enough of that the first time, and I thought, no, I'm not going to talk to anyone about
Mhm.
this. I'm not going to lie, because I didn't tell anyone about it. I think there was a time that I just had a major outburst. I just had this, I'm just fed up and so hangry, and I had to go through my healing process in
Mhm.
that season. And sometimes, even now, with having the two girls, I still have the season where I struggle with one or two things. And I knew that if I had the right support when I was going through it, I would have dealt with certain issues that come up every single day, right? So
So I want to ask you a couple of things about that. Number one, as far as your journey you had mentioned with God, um, do you feel like it was something that He was allowing to happen in your life to teach you um, to trust Him more, or is that something that you kind of came to afterwards when you were working towards your healing, and being able to trust Him to have a healthy baby and know He is who He says He is?
right. To be honest, I feel like Okay, so I'm before I even got married, I was that number one. I call myself the chief encouragement officer because if anyone is feeling down, I'm that person that's going to show you where it is in the word that he said he's able and all of that. So it was, I felt that it was like this was my own test of everything I've always said about how big God is. And this was my own test of, so what are you going to do now that you don't have what you really, really want? What are you going to do? Are you still going to say that he's God, or are you going to just let go of everything because things are not going your way? But trusting him, yes, the first time I trusted him, I said to him, okay, we lost this baby. I'm going to go back on this journey the second time because I trust that you can do it. But I feel like the third time when I lost the baby, I had the question of, okay, this was my question. I'm sure it's not a big deal for you, God, to just give me this baby.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for goodness sakes, you give everyone a baby. You even give animals babies. Like, I'm sure this is like the simplest task in the world. I'm not telling you to, if you created the heavens and the earth, this is really no big deal, you know.
Right.
And I think my big question is, so why are you not doing it for me? I know you can do it, but you're not doing this, and you're not allowing me to have this, and why, you know? So that was the part where I had to make the 360 and say, you know what, I will trust you no matter what. I will still trust you. I remember my sister would tell me this. She would tell me that God is good. And the definition of God is good is not just when everything is good. Even when things are not good, God is good. And now I had to understand what those words really mean. God is good. Even when things are not going my way, God is still good.
Yeah, and I struggle so much too. A lot of times when I talk to people, they're very angry at God. So there's several things that go on. So first of all, people get angry at God when they lose loved ones. Another thing is that, like you said before, people are well-meaning and they want to fix you. They're very uncomfortable about seeing you in pain, and they want to say good things, but they end up saying things that can be hurtful. Like we heard a lot of, well, God needed another angel, or you got your miracle because our daughter was sick. And, I struggled a lot with this, whether or not, God, another thing was said, well, you're supposed to help people. That was said right after she passed away.
Wow.
And so, naturally that made me very angry. Especially in the beginning. I've moved away from that now, but in the very beginning it made me angry because I said, I do not want to help anybody. I just want my child back. And here I am 3.5 years later, and that's what I do. But it took a while to get there. I mean, and there's still a little bit of a struggle, a wrestle in my mind, in my personal relationship with God, where every once in a while I want to be like, God, did you really do this or allow this to teach me a lesson, or is it for me to help other people? And then of course the flesh in you says, well, couldn't you just have told me?
Heads up would be
Couldn't
good.
you just like feed me this information instead
Give
of
me heads up.
like, other than making me go through all this pain and heartache, I so I kind of still wrestle with that some, but coming to this point where it's not something that you can control, and then B, you have choices to make after something happens, knowing that you have a choice to sit still and not do anything with it, or let everything, deteriorate in your entire life. We have free choice. We have free choice to follow after the Lord and believe in Him and love Him and have a relationship with Him. But we also have free choice in taking action from our circumstances. So we can stay, in that pain and kind of hold it and nurse it like a blanket. Or, and I know that probably sounds very insensitive, but you also have that choice to take some action and start saying, okay, you know what, I don't like this, but I have to move forward. And God wants me to have a lot of joy. He
Right.
wants me to live in his goodness and see his goodness right now here on earth, not necessarily in heaven. I mean, we know heaven is perfect, so
Right.
why do we need miracles in heaven, you know? Yeah. What would you say to the audience? There's so many people that go through miscarriages, and I would be willing to bet that so many of them keep it to themselves. So, what kind of encouragement would you like to hand off to them and say, hey, you can persevere?
I would say that I feel like the miscarriages I had actually made me into who I am today. Maybe I would have gone through a different path. I believe so. And whatever it is, if you decide to talk about it, there are people that are amazing. They talk about stuff. And if you decide to, keep it inside, just make sure that you don't bottle it up and not go through the pain, because the pain is there. You have to go through the pain. Yeah, for sure. It's happening to you maybe because you're called to do something, but it's important for you to make sure that you're fully healed as well. Because when you go into a battle with scars, it's not really a good place to be. So if you decide that you're going to keep it to yourself like I did, I feel like one of the things I did was I read a lot of books about people that have been through that and just learn from them. There was a particular book I read. I think it was Supernatural Childbirth
Mm-hmm.
was the title of the book. Very
I read that
amazing.
one too.
Yeah. Okay. So I did read that. And it's funny, even when I was reading the book, I wasn't reading about how I was going to have my baby. I was just reading about the reactions of the other people that have been through the pain. Like, how did you cope? And even this platform that you created as well, you can listen and just go back to his word. It would definitely give you a word for the season
Mm-hmm.
if you want to hear him speak to you. So just go back to him. Yeah.
Yeah, and just because you don't tell anybody certainly doesn't mean you're choosing to sit in it. Like you said, you can still feel the pain, and you can still do other things to help you. Like for instance, for me, the way that I did is I did talk about it, but I didn't really talk about it directly. It was about a month or so, even just after her passing, that I felt like I was a burden to other people. Like they didn't want, and this is totally grief. For those of you who are listening, if you feel this way, you're not a burden. It's just totally the lies that grief tells you. And so it told me that I was a burden, that nobody else wanted to hear me talk about my child anymore. And so I created a blog so that I could talk about her. And it was something that I thought was going to be, I guess, something I turned into a business, but it didn't end up being like that. It was just a place for me to express my emotions. So, I think I love listening to people's stories. I love listening to, not their heartache. That is
Mhm.
something that is really hard to hear, listening to your story. Even though I have lost a child of my own and have had miscarriages, makes me want to cry. And I really feel for you because of the situation, that you have gone through. But I really applaud you for being open and honest and transparent and being able to share your story with other people right now. And I really just appreciate it, because people need to know they're not alone. They
Yeah,
need to
for
know
sure.
that it's not just this craziness in their head, and that nobody else understands.
Right, for sure, for sure.
So are you the in the place that you are now, how many years did you say? It's been over 5 years now?
Yep.
So it's been over 5 years. The
Hmm.
place that you are now, I'm sure it's still, obviously, the thoughts, the feelings still come up. How are you able to continue to move forward? Do you focus mostly on your little girls now, or, did you do other things to help you cope? You said you read some books. Any other things that you want to share?
Okay, so it's interesting the place I'm in right now. I actually help mom entrepreneurs. So I feel like every day it's always a reminder of my battle to be a mom. Like I finally get to be a mom, and now I can help mom entrepreneur and say to the mom entrepreneur that I'm a mom too. And a lot of clients I work with don't even know my story, but it was a battle to get here. And it's interesting because Christina, like you fight so hard to get to be a mom, and then the question that came up after I got home with my baby is, okay, so who are you now, Nikki? Like, what are you going to do with yourself now, right? You have the baby, but then I've quit my job. And I just felt this emptiness. I don't know how to explain it. Like, okay, I want to have a purpose for my life. I felt the urgency of having a girl, and I want her to look up to me in a certain way. I wanted her to kind of meet the mom that I'm really am, which is, I love working. I love, being there for her and all of that. But I just felt like I wasn't the exact image because I've kind of like put my life on hold just because I wanted to be a mom. So I had to answer that question of, okay, so what do you want to do? And that birth, what I'm doing right now, which is helping moms, set up their business. And also my greatest passion is just realizing that don't lose yourself in the business. Remember that you're still a mom. Don't lose yourself. Remember that you exist.
Mm-hmm.
don't lose yourself in motherhood. Remember that you exist. So it's the battle of don't be fully an entrepreneur, but don't be fully a mom. But then don't be fully a mom. Remember that there is a Nikki or Christina that is still existing. So that's just been my battle every day, and that's what I help moms to do. Like it was a fight for me to get that title of mom
Mm-hmm.
and having those two girls. And my goal in life is to help other moms just remember their priorities, really. So yeah.
And I love that. I've been using the word balance, but recently it's come up to me that I guess some people don't like to use the word balance. It's more of a harmony or blended. I don't know. To me, it's just something where you're able to, I mean, it's not a juggling thing, right? It's just something
Right.
where you're able to bring everything together. Maybe that is harmony, but it is difficult when you are really really in tune with your children and really wanting to be such a good mom, to lose yourself, to forget who you are, and really say, hey, what am I? I'm mom. I'm a cook, and I clean things, and I make sure my kids are dressed, and I'm a teacher, and just all the hats that you have as a mom. If you have a business or you work outside the home or whatever it is that you do, you can get really hyper focused on that because you want to do a good job. You want to be successful, and you want to model good behavior and success to your children. But then you have this space where you have to make it all work together, because if
Right.
you focus too much on one area, then you lose another.
Right.
And it's not an easy thing to do at all. So I am so thankful that there are people like you out there that are helping people with that as well, mothers with that as well. Um, are there any last words that you would have for maybe a mother that is just really struggling with being able to get over that um, those emotions, maybe not even get over them, but move through them. We don't ever talk about getting over anything grief. We talk about moving forward through it. And, it's hard. you
Right.
know I can tell you that I'm in a space right now to serve other people, which, by the way, you had kind of touched on this before, is one of the most healing things you can do is to serve other people.
Right.
But there's other people out there that haven't gotten to the place that we are right now. So if they're in that space, can you add anything for them right now?
I feel that the truth is we all have a different duration it takes us to find our healing. I don't think you can ever completely forget about it. I remember all the dates, the pregnancy dates,
Definitely.
the test dates, all the dates. I remember what, the two of them look like. So it's never going to go away. Sometimes I will make jokes with my friends, when they say they have 3 kids, I tell them I have 6. I have 2 here and four in heaven, and sometimes I make funny jokes when my husband is trying to tell me to do something. I'm like, I'm a mom of 6. I'm tired. So because they're real, and nobody's ever gonna understand what you're going through. Like, I'm sharing my story, but the way you feel your pain is probably going to be different from the way I feel my pain. But what I'm just going to say is, you still have to live for you. You still have to enjoy this life that you're living. So you have to find a way to, I wouldn't say fully be healed, but comfortable enough to talk about it. Because the truth is, for some people, Christina, some people, their stories probably don't end up where then they have the kids. Some people still are going through it. Also, I have met a lady that actually just gave up after the whole miscarriage. It's like, okay, maybe having kids is not my thing. But the truth is, you have to learn to live life to the fullest, because you're alive. And if you're alive, there's a purpose for your life. And that's what you should really going to find that purpose and just live life and just love life as much as you can. So, yeah.
Definitely. And like I said before, God does want us to feel his joy and have goodness here. And I certainly remember, like I said, when I had those miscarriages, I remember sitting in, my husband was in the military at the time, and we were sitting in the chaplain's office at the base church. And I remember crying, just said, I don't understand why I want a baby so bad. I mean, I already had one child, my first child, and then I had 2 stepkids, but I didn't understand why I wanted another baby so badly when it just wasn't happening. Even the doctor had told me that if I had wanted another child, I better hurry up because my eggs were not there.
Yeah.
And so, I remember her telling me that it must be something that God wanted, because he was letting it be on my heart so heavy.
Right.
And she was right. I mean, after that, I ended up having 3 other children. So, and I too tell everybody I'm a mom of 6 children.
Oh,
And
okay.
and for those of you who always listen to the podcast, especially lately since we've had people home with us for 4 or 5 months, it's almost impossible to be completely professional because my kids are home all the time. So you hear little screams and the door slams and all kind of stuff. So, but that's part of being a mom. So, but yeah, I mean, we I think God puts things on our hearts that he is going to give us, and things that he doesn't decide or have any space in our lives, then he gives us that peace that he talks about, that it surpasses any human understanding. We can't possibly in the flesh understand that peace because it makes no logical sense. But, God doesn't need to, because he's God. And so he can give us that peace. I really have enjoyed this interview, and I would like for you, Kay, to tell everybody where it is that they can find you.
Oh, okay. So, like I said, I have a platform called Mom Leader, and I feel like the super thing I'm really excited about it when it comes to time management is, I know it's not one size fit all. So I have a time management test. It's a simple quiz, just 20 questions. You'll be done in less than 2 minutes. If you want to take that, is on www.momleader.com/your superpower, because I feel like when you know your time management personality, it's kind of like your secret weapon to help you find that balance, or the harmony, or which other words did you use? The harmony, the balance, that's
Whatever word,
whatever word you want to use, that space that space when you feel like you can actually function really well in the different roles that we take as mom entrepreneurs. So so just check out momleader.com, and you can also join the movement as well, which I'm excited about. So
Yeah, definitely check her out. And guys, we hope that you continue to be blessed. and bless others. And we'll see you next time.
If you want to hear more from Nikkei, join us for the Kingdom Women's Summit, Planting Seeds, January 21st through 23rd, where she will be speaking to Kingdom moms on being a Kingdom mompreneur. Grab your ticket today at kingdomwomen.net. And I want to thank you for joining us on Faith Breathed Hope, where you gain inspiration and motivation to renew hope and discover purpose in any circumstance. Please like and share this podcast and give us a review on iTunes. Be blessed.